What's up, world? This is Salim with Flip for Figs, and welcome to episode 13 of my figure matchup series. Today, we have the Droideka from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, versus the clone pilot from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I'll be covering sculpt in detail, accessories, and overall value for the money to see which one comes out on top. Stay tuned to the end of this video to see who next week's figure matchup will be.
Flip for Figs.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.
Sculpt and detail wise, I mean, it looks good. It's just starting to kind of feel like, you've seen one clone, you've seen them all kind of thing, especially with the body. Aside from like those little two prongs on the chest piece, I think it is the same exact body, and it looks like that little plate was just added on. The helmet looks really nice. The yellow gives it a nice pop in the collection. And, I love Phase 1 helmets, so I think it looks really cool. Also, the texture and the fact that you can move kind of this wire around. It's not wired. I mean, maybe it is. No, it's not really wired, but it still looks good. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's a clone trooper, and so it doesn't come with a jetpack or anything, which, at least like the regular trooper came with a backpack. This one kind of slim pickings aside from the binoculars, which are nice. They have that kind of like red texture on them. And yeah, I don't know. It's a clone trooper. It looks exactly how it should look. Let's put it that way. I don't know what else they could have done to make it look any better. It looks great, but it's just kind of, I don't know. There he is with the Phase 3 helmet on. I have to say, it looks really cool. I had never tried it on before just because, it wasn't the traditional look for me, and I prefer Phase 1 armor, but it does look really good. And, it comes with its own chest box, which I thought just kind of hangs there, but it actually has indents in it, and the chest of the trooper has prongs, and it sits right in. All right, sculpt and detail wise, this thing looks amazing from every angle. I mean, there's differences in the shading on the figure, on the metal parts. There's weathering on the brown sections. The guns and the pistons, everything looks worn out as it should. So on one hand, it looks kind of super shiny and clean, and on the other hand, like when you take a closer look, there's definitely a lot of weathering there. And like I said, it just looks awesome from every angle. From here, you really see kind of like the inspiration of the fact that it was the Beetle. And then, there's these like pistons and the wiring and the hoses and everything, and it just looks awesome. The three eyes, if you will, these ones are a little, you can pull the eyes out, and you can kind of, these ones aren't as bendable, so I'd be careful with that. But this one is definitely more flexible, and you can kind of bend it as you see fit. So you can bend it down, you can bend it out, you can push it in. But these two, I would be careful trying to bend those. The head can slide out and all the way back in like that, which comes in handy when you're trying to fold it. You can move these rear parts as well, so you can kind of close them in, or you can pull them out. The legs swivel quite a bit, and they also move up and down, so you can have it more, be more tall if you want, like this. You could have it like that, but you can also bring the legs down if you want to have it in a crouching position. So articulation wise, it's just super posable, as it should be, because you do need to be able to fold it. With the guns as well, you can kind of move the arms, and you'll see here that the pistons move in and out, which is a really nice feature. And in terms of sculpt and detail, it looks phenomenal. Like I said, you can move the head up and down. Almost every part seems to move or be able to be adjusted in some way. And now let's go ahead and show you how to fold it. So folding it, I don't know if there's exactly a right or wrong way to do it. I think in the instructions it kind of shows you how, but you can essentially just kind of move stuff around until you get there. So, and to start making kind of that ball shape. Let's see. So putting the legs forward definitely helps kind of achieve that ball look. And then you just got to find a way to kind of stuff the guns in. And yeah, I mean, you can even bring the nose down just to make it even more of a ball. So yeah, it doesn't really roll because while this part is rollable, you know, the bottom definitely isn't. But it looks, you know, spherical, and if you had two and you wanted one displayed like it was in a rolling motion, you know, you could definitely achieve that pretty close enough, you know. So yeah, I think it looks cool. I don't have to, so I'm going to keep mine displayed as is, but this would be a cool way if you did have the means to get a bunch of them, to have some rolling. You could even have some like they're about to pop up where you have the guns, you know, kind of pushed out like that. And so it kind of gives it the look that they're about to unpop. Sculpt and detail wise, I have to give it to the Droideka. Alrighty, for the Droideka, this is everything you're going to get in the box. Just kidding, you don't get anything else in the box. You just get the Droideka. Alrighty, for the clone pilot, this is everything you're going to get in the box. The Phase 3 helmet with the control box there, and looks really good. You get just a few hands, another trigger hand for the other side. You also get a pointing finger, one to grab, and then an open palm one. You also get this little pistol along with the, you know, traditional blaster that they give you with like every single figure, and these red binoculars here. You also get these little explosive bombs. I don't know exactly what they're called, but you have one fully round one that the trooper can hold, and you also have one that's flat on one side to mimic it being in the ground. It's a no-brainer. Clone pilots taking accessories. All right, so value of the money, you know, as much as I love Phase 1 clones, as much as I love the whole Attack of the Clones line and the retro packaging inside of here, this is one of the weaker figures in my collection. Even though it looks really cool, it's, you know, a clone pilot, which was an unusual choice to begin with, that they even made it, because obviously there's no gunship to go with it, and they got very little screen time. It is still cool to have it in the collection. However, aside from the helmet, it's essentially just another clone trooper, which is not a bad thing, especially if you like troop building, and I do like, you know, my clones, but I don't have that many clones yet, and I'm already kind of starting to get worn out. So it's starting to feel like, with the difference of a few little different design details and the helmet, I'm essentially getting the same figure over and over again, which they're clones, so it makes total sense. I'm not denying it there, but in terms of value to the collection, would my Attack of the Clones display be just as strong without this guy? Probably. I mean, I think when you have the droids and you have Dooku and you have Anakin and you have, you know, Padme and the regular trooper, this one kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And if somebody were to come one day and take it out of my collection, would I even notice right away? Probably not. And I think that that's where it comes down to, for the sake of this figure matchup, the value that it means to my collection. I bought it mainly because I saw that there was only a few left available online at retail price, so I wanted to pick it up before it was too late. I think it is sold out now. And so, you know, it's a great figure, and the fact that you got the Phase 3 armor, even though we never saw that in any of the movies, or at least I don't think we saw it in the movies, I may be mistaken. But you know, it's got fewer hands than the other troopers, and it does come with the pistol, which is kind of a nice touch, as well as these red binoculars. But overall, you know, like I said, would I miss it in my collection? Probably not. Is it my favorite trooper? No. Is it cool? Is the design work great? Everything else? Yeah. But for the sake of this figure matchup, I just don't see that the value is there. Alrighty, let's talk value for the money. This one can be a little tricky because, as you saw, you don't get any accessories or anything like that with the Droideka. And so, on one hand, it does kind of feel like just an overgrown, you know, maybe Hasbro. I don't know. I've never had another Droideka action figure to compare it to. But, you know, usually you go for Hot Toys and you're willing to pay around $300 because of the sculpt work, the likeness to the character that it's representing, the level of detail, accessories, different materials used. And with the Droideka, you don't really get any of that. Now, granted, the paint work, the sculpt work is amazing. The fact that you can actually fold it up to have it roll is pretty incredible too, and you know, it's a testament to the sculpt, which is why I did give it the points in the sculpt and detail. But you know, I think it really would have benefited from maybe some light up features. You know, it's too thin to have kind of a USB situation, but even button cell batteries, having the option to light up these three lights would have been great. You know, maybe some die cast in it. I think some die cast in it would have really given it some nice weight and made it even more menacing. Um, and so, you know, with that said, it does feel overpriced because for the same price or similar price, you could get like a, you know, an action figure that has likeness to a real life human that somebody had to spend hours and hours making sure they hit the likeness spot on and the, you know, the paint work and skin textures, and you don't get any of that with the Droideka. Now, it is the perfect representation of the Droideka, there's no doubt about that. But at the same time, like I said, you know, you're paying Hot Toys money, but is it really a Hot Toys? That's where, you know, it's kind of tricky. Now, in terms of me, in terms of my collection, in terms of, you know, the presence in the collection, I think it, you know, definitely presents value. Number one, it's from the Phantom Menace. There's very few Phantom Menace figures. I'm a big fan of the Phantom Menace. I think just because I love Darth Maul so much, it makes me love that movie so much. And so, you know, it is out of the prequels, it's the one with the least characters. In fact, up until, you know, the Droideka, and now with Jar Jar Binks coming, we really only had, you know, Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn, and there were several versions of Darth Maul. So I'm happy they're starting to flesh out the Phantom Menace line. And so for me, and let's consider the fact that, you know, we have the regular battle droid, even though it's the Geonosian version, and we also have the pit droid and the super battle droid. So this was really the only, you know, separatist droid that we were missing. And so for me, the value is there because, like I said, it would have been the only real droid missing from the collection. It's from the Phantom Menace. And so, you know, unlike the Super Battle Droid, which when I unboxed that one, it felt like, wow, this is really overpriced. With the Droideka, especially because of the different, you know, design elements and the wiring and how thin it is and the fact that it holds up even when you fold it, I feel like this one is a lot more worth the price than like the Super Battle Droid was. And they're about the same price. And so for me, the value is there, even though it's not like a hot, you know, it's not like Hot Toys value, but the value is still there because, you know, if anything, it looks like a statue of a Droideka. And I think if you love the Droideka or Destroyer Droid, I used to always call it a Destroyer Droid. It wasn't until recently that I started calling it a Droideka. And so, yeah, I don't know when that happened, but it's the Droideka now. But anyways, I know a lot of people were upset that it didn't come with a shield, but I really don't know what it could have came with that would have kept the value down. If it was like some type of resin plastic shield that was maybe two pieces, like a globe, and you put it around it, it would just take up so much space. Because now, even though it's large, you can at least fit figures beside it, behind it, you can kind of fold it up, but a globe would have taken way too much space. So I personally wasn't fussed that they didn't have a globe. What I do wish they had was some type of light up features or some type of fire effects. Maybe like you could put like the guns are shooting or die cast. Any one of those and it really would have set the figure off, but it doesn't have any of those. But like I said, because of the fact that it's from the Phantom Menace, because of the fact that it completes our Separatist droid lineup essentially, and because of the fact that it is so menacing looking, and you know the paint applications are great, and you can fold it up, I got to give the value to the money for the Droideka. Alrighty, let's talk results, because at one point I thought this might be another sweep, like with the Super Battle droid, but it definitely wasn't. So Clone Pilot got accessories, but Droideka got sculpt and detail, as well as value for the money. So in this week's figure matchup, the Droideka takes it.
On next week's episode of Figure Matchup.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.